So, conceptually, if consciousness is really being conscious of the one, if you will, the being, the greater one, the living one, and if that's what we really are, when we're really being us, is there really an us? Is there really a Jeff? Is there really a Denise? Or is that all just sort of the personality, the mental, the mind stuff? Is there...
It's mostly that.
It's mostly that,
it's
right?
Mostly that,
mostly, but not completely,
no, because
right?
you still, we're one, and yet we're...
But we're part of that one.
We're part of the one, like
Right.
bubbles in the sea.
Right.
So the bubble is not separate from the sea. It's nothing but seawater and sea. But the bubble is a bubble. So you can say there are a lot of bubbles or there are a few bubbles. But we understand that it's not something else. It's not plastic bottles or pollution or lobsters or something.
Right.
Or a submarine. It's the sea, just like waves in the sea. So are there waves really or not? Yeah, waves are waves. Are there icebergs? Yes, but what are all those made of? The sea. So it's different conditions of same nature. And that's the Buddhist way of looking at oneness. So there's the relative, there's unity in diversity, in the multiplicity. And that's what the mandala principle or the hologram. In ancient times, the mandala principle that the great psychologist Carl Jung brought into Western thinking, wrote about the I Ching and mandalas and archetypes. And these mandalas represent archetypal like structures, like crystal, for example. Every crystal, every snowflake is different, but they're all crystal in structure or fractal nature.
Fractal.
So there's infinite different fractals, but they're all from the same equation, let's say.
Yeah, yeah.
So like with our souls,
the
we're all
same
sparks
genesis,
of God,
for lack of a better word.
bubbles in the sea, so we're all sparks of God.
Right.
So you even find rebirth mentioned if you look deep in the Bible and things where it says that, I don't know, rabbi, I forget who, the old rabbi of the 2nd century, Rabbi Akiba, and the Baal Shem Tov of the 16th century, the great founder of Hasidism. It said the Baal Shem Tov was a spark of the soul of Rabbi Akiba of the 2nd century. So that's like in Jewish mysticism about rebirth, a spark of the soul of, which it's like if you light a candle from this candle and the wax is burned down, whatever, the next candle has a flame and a whole new wax body. So Rabbi Akiba was a spark from the soul of Rabbi, from before, and Baal Shem Tov, and things like that you find. So I think it's like the bubbles in the sea or sparks of the divine fire. And the whole is in each one. It's not just we're a tiny grain of sand on the beach. It's more like the crystal thing, the crystal fractal or divine algorithm, which is the Christos or the inner light, the one. The singularity is in each one, complete, not we're just a tiny cog in the vast machine. Right. So that's our similarity, and then each one is a little individuated, like a platypus has its chromosomes and genes, and a male or female human has its different Y and X chromosomes and genes, and they're a little different, even though mostly the same. And then there's inanimate matter, which also has its own laws and structure, and we quickly become inanimate. If we burnt, then we become ashes. So, but the light continues, the consciousness, but it's not conscious. You see, we think consciousness is way too personal. Cosmic consciousness isn't personal.
Right.
God doesn't play dice or decide which team should win. That's in differentiation. The totality is just like breathing in and breathing out. It's just kind of like vibrating.
Right.
And everything happens. It's like the sound of the spheres. It's not note by note being composed. Well, if you look at it over time, it seems to be with evolution, but it's still the bigger picture.
Right.
It's not so linear or step by step, it's all at once.
It's a really,
totally
a truly
happening.
incredible, it's an incredible feeling, even from my limited experience.